What's up, long players? Welcome back to the Long Play Listening Party, the show where we go deep on local music, writing, recording, inspiration, gear, and whatever else sounds good to us. I'm Howie Howard from Mr. Furious Records. My co-host is Nate Holt, Astrali's Music. What's going on, Nate?
How is everybody doing this week?
We're good this week.
Great.
And
Not bad at all.
Not bad at all. We're returning guest Ebony Simon, LeftE Grove, producer Guinness. We are listening to Ebony's LeftE's first full-length album, Left Grizzle in HD. What's going on, Ebony?
Not much, man. Just chilling out. Thought I'd go back and think about this. This is now 15 years ago. So this is like young, still wild Ebony writing and like sitting down and actually trying to put together something to figure out exactly who he was, but still having fun and talking about it. Like, so just kind of lightheartedness, but still serious at the same time. Sorry, I went off screen there for a second.
Yeah, no worries. So first full length, what had you done prior to this musically? Roughly.
Should we start at the beginning and get a Cliff Notes version? Or?
Let's do it. Beginning and Cliff Notes.
Cliff Notes. First stage, 6 years old, at a Christmas show at school. Everybody's looking at me. I'm in the front row. It was a good feeling to like have people feel good that I was doing something. 5th grade, I do a musical with my still friend, childhood best friend, Kevin Cease. We did a musical called The Song Sleuth. And by the 5th grade, I had started playing cello because I started playing cello in the 4th grade. So from 8 years old till I was like 15, I played the cello. Till I got to high school. Then it was sports and girls and, life.
Yeah.
Stopped doing music for a while, went to college, played soccer. Basically didn't go back to college because I couldn't afford it. So I started working, and then when I turned 21, I joined a band. And by the time I was 23, I had moved out of Wichita and slept on a couch in Lawrence with my childhood friends, and I was up there for 20 years rapping. Then COVID hit. I had a bunch of programs on the computer. I moved back to Wichita to help out with my dad because he got sick, and started producing and went from whack to, not whack. That's where I'm at right now. But this is specifically from when I was rapping in 2008. So I do want to preface that. That's 15 years ago. So Please believe that's a lot of growth, but this is like young Ebony that you're hearing.
Yeah, and you told me we had talked about doing kind of a sample, like a timeline type of show.
Yeah.
But this is what you chose, and I mean, you said there were lots of stories, but I don't really know what to ask or like what the stories will be. So I'm counting on you to kind of just volunteer some of them.
I'll put it to you like this. Overall, when you hear the album, it's me rapping, but kind of like this is like the me trying to be popular era LeftE Grove. Like I was doing kind of what was not necessarily big on the radio at that time, but was big on the radio or starting to get big on the radio. Kind of, trying to make radio rap, I guess. And so it works, but it's also sloppy and young and me being an idiot and trying to be serious. It kind of felt like fun, but like definitely the way that I wanted to be. I just didn't know how to be that honest. So like young people.
So did you produce everything at this point?
No, this was all by a producer, IJ the Boy. He's from Topeka. but I met him in Lawrence. He was in the band at KU, and we met at the skate park my first weekend in town. And then I found out that he was a rapper, so I saw him like the following Monday when I had gotten a job, and I was downtown on my break, and I saw him walking by, and I hit him up, and then that was 2000, and this is just like the culmination of those first years of me working with him in the beginnings of his career as a producer, because he was rapping and then he switched to production. But like, as you will see on one of these songs later on, he's one of the coldest dudes on the mic too. He just chose to concentrate on production. So.
And I think he's still active, or was recently active. I was on his Bandcamp. There's like a production, there's a label or something that he seems to be a key part of, or maybe the main person behind. And there was a release, I think as recently as 2019 or 2020.
Yeah, so like, I mean, we've lost contact, but this is all him. And that was just the intro of me and everybody who was there from the moment we started that I could remember to shout out on the record. I wasn't really, at the time, I was in the scene in Lawrence, but I was kind of like doing my own thing the whole time, which has kind of just been what I did anyway. But the first 5 years I was in Lawrence, I basically just freestyled at parties. So like, this album is just the first time I tried to make an album. So like, this song is Diamonds, and it's just it's kind of like the radio street song, I guess. I'm not really sure, because I'm talking about like different things that could be happening in life. And the third verse is what I'm actually doing. So
I did a lot of the songs on this project emerge out of the parties and stuff, or you're saying you were doing that, and then when it came time to make this project, you started fresh and really wrote?
Yeah, like, this is all fresh. I didn't do any of this on stage until I was recording it to do this.
The second thing. Got it.
Yeah. But like, I used to just go around to parties. If there was like somebody playing at a party and they were doing any kind of danceable music, I would just freestyle. Like, I don't remember a lot of it because, like I said, I was young and it was the first time I really got to have fun in my life. So the first few years I was in Lawrence, it was just freestyling and not really doing like songs and like working on actual projects, just doing little one-off stuff, because I never really thought I would have the chance to have that much fun. Mm-hmm. So I had as much fun as I possibly could while I was young. And then when I hit 28 in Lawrence, I was like, dude, what am I doing? Like, you can continue to do this, but you're not going to get anything accomplished if you keep partying and just being wild, you know? And it wasn't that I couldn't handle it. It was just, I have my life set up to where I could just work enough to party and make sure my bills stay paid, instead of like building towards a goal.
Yeah.
So like about 2006, I really started to get serious with IJ and like work on music. And this is one of the first songs. I'm weird. Like, generally how I record the songs is how they're going to come out on the record. So by the time I get to the point I'm recording something, how I record it is like, this song's going to be first, then this song. So I recorded that.
Oh, wow.
It feels like. And this is kind of the first time I actually put that in action. But at the same time, I did figure out that when I recorded, I don't like to be in the studio a long time working on one song. If I have 5 hours in the studio, I want to have 4 songs done, period. Like, I don't want to waste time recording. So this is one of those, this is the first linear album that I put together, where this is how I wanted this album to sound. So
did you record this in the studio then?
This was recorded in a sunroom on the upstairs house apartment that I was staying in when I moved back to Lawrence after trying to move to LA didn't work.
Okay.
The first time.
So yeah, well, I have to come back to that because I didn't know that you had. You said you tried to move to LA twice.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, I mean, you can talk about that whenever. I was just saying, like, I was, wanted you to finish the point you were making, and then
yeah,
because I mean, we've known each other. I didn't know that you had tried to do that, and
Yeah, what's your guys' history? Kind of I'm the newcomer here. I mean, but you both go back in Lawrence to 06, 05, 04, maybe earlier. So
probably earlier than that.
Yeah.
I don't know if we knew each other that whole time, but
no, we definitely didn't know each other the whole time. But I think we met pretty soon after, because you were doing stuff with DJ Not a DJ, so like
DJ Not a DJ, yeah.
It was back in those days, because I knew all of the girls that hung out with those guys, because we all grew up together, kind of. Like,
I mean, yeah, there's a whole kind of big extended crew back then.
Yeah, there was a solid 150 of us back then, like just in reference to each other, all around the same age and all doing the same thing.
Different types of shows, man.
Yeah, like Lawrence was a whole vibe.
This song.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I tried to do a little auto-tune. So
I'm not hating it though.
But I did rap the third verse on this one. So it was like an R&B song with a rap feature, which was like big at the time.
And you were singing it?
Yeah, I sang this, I wrote this, I did everything but make the beat and record it. Like,
what do you think listening back to it now?
I think all we needed was a step up in studio, like the studio we were using, not how we did it, because it actually sounds good, but like, we were using what we could because we couldn't afford Pro Tools. But
sure, but it holds up really well. I listened to it this afternoon, and it holds up really well. I mean, I wish my stuff from 2008 sounded this good.
For real, man.
That's the thing that is the reason that I wanted to go back to it, because these songs come up when I randomly listen to my iTunes, and I completely forget that I made this music. I just listen.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's a great feeling.
So,
very special to me, and I know y'all think I'm crazy because I let my heart go into the hands of another woman with all I've been through. But the game of love must continue, and I know I'm not perfect.
But yeah, this is one of those songs where I just kind of wanted to do something for the radio. Like, there's no cursing, it's just a straight up and down song.
It can still be on the radio today, man.
I like to think that people would listen to it more now than when it came out, which is no problem for me. Like, I think I did the best that I possibly could have at the time in the situation that I was in. Like, there was a lot of begging people to use their cars to get back and forth to Topeka and Lawrence to record this, and a lot of scraping together money to make sure that, you know, hey, we might not have a lot, but here's something to eat, you know. Man, sleep in this basement to get this done.
You should either redo it or do something and put it back out.
I think I have the rhyme books for this, and I honestly kind of want to just do a brand new, like a new set of beats and just redo the verses.
That could be really cool. And
that arrangement, the chord changes, you know.
Yeah. That's all. That's all I did. Like I had nothing to do with these beats. I just told him what I like to hear, and he made some stuff up. Like, I don't even think there's a sample in that. I think he did all of that on a Triton and like ASR 10. I'm pretty sure. Like, there's a couple of samples on there, but not a lot. I was really big on being as organic as possible because we were trying to do something that was different from what was out at the time, including the local stuff.
That's
because
super dope, man. I like that song.
It wasn't that there wasn't a lot of competition. It was just that there was so much competition in my young head, thinking that like we were all competing against each other instead of like just trying to put out the best music, which looking back, I realized that. But at the time, in the middle of it, I thought we were fighting for the top dog spot. So I didn't really hold a lot of musical friendships and like balances with the people that I wasn't working with. So I think that's a lot of the reason that like Nate and I knew each other but didn't really know each other back then. And it wasn't like, oh, I'm better than these guys or anything like that. It was like, no, these guys are doing their thing. Let's do our thing.
Man, some of that, I think it's probably driven by like, you know, you recognize things in other bands that you were like, oh man, I wish we would do that. You know, I wish I could do that. And like, you're like, you know, there's no disrespect. It was just like, kind of like, man, you know, like,
yeah, it's like, I got it now. I got
like you said, man. I think, you know, in a way, it was some sort of type of friendly competition, but
like, it was friendly competition between people
more out of respect and just like you're appreciating what you hear that you couldn't do or you weren't doing that you wanted to do or something.
Exactly. Like hearing you on the keys and watching Sean with live bands and watching Lou and everybody get down. It was just like, man, I got to get to that level. And then I finally realized looking back that like you guys would see what I was doing and it wasn't necessarily what you were doing, but it was still dope too. And like,
I mean,
now we all got like, you know, like we were really lifting the tide with the boats, and I didn't realize it back then because I was young and just thinking that it was a different way, you know.
I mean, I still get that feeling. Like, you know, you do a show and see people really digging it and loving it, and like you're like, oh man, I can't wait to play, you know, next week. Like, I hope, you know, it's as good as this. Like, I hope people, you know, are, you know, dig it as much. And, but that's good, man. That's good. I mean, like you said, it's kind of a rising tide lifts all boats. I mean, the better.
Yeah. And there's a real, I think there's a healthy kind of steel sharpens steel mentality, right? As long as there's a foundation of, respect, and we can all be in the scene together, and it's good for everyone when great art is happening, right?
Like we really were in a ball of magic at the time because everybody was dope. Like everybody. I don't remember anybody from like from the moment I moved up there until like 2010 when I was really like plugged in to like the music scene up there. I can't remember a bad group coming through town, a bad group coming out of town.
That's what I'm saying. Like, look at some of the old flyers from back then. You're like, man, there's a ton of just insane shows that,
like just barbarians and like musical beasts, and we're just in the middle of it. And I didn't realize like we were in the eye of the storm the whole time, and I never knew it until I look back. And that's what this album helps me do, because I was for sure I put out a good ass album. I just didn't realize it until I listened back now. Like talking to you two right now is when I'm like, damn, this shit's pretty solid.
Well, yeah, like, man, that's what I mean.
For sure.
I should have been. I think this should have been like, in the my recently played list, like whatever, like back then. Like I should have been rolling around like listening to that. Like,
yeah, man, it was.
Anyway, yeah, man.
And I should mention, you can pick it up at leftegrove2.bandcamp.com. It's available.
Yes.
You can also stream it. I didn't check, but I saw most of the big streaming platforms at least, so you should be able to find it around. I'm going to keep going with My One.
Yeah, this is probably
go back and refresh.
This is probably my favorite song that I ever wrote about like women. Like
that's a good introduction.
I think it's a pretty respectable song for what I'm talking about. It's like a story song, and I would like to think that I kept it pretty respectful. I don't know. If there are any women,
keyboard in there, man.
Yeah, if there are any women listening to this, please give me feedback if I was respectful on this song.
Was that a sample? Was that?
That is a sample, yes. But I think it's just the keys in the background. The bass line, I believe, and the drums are IJ.
The record really does fit in an interesting place in Lawrence hip-hop in the era. I mean, because you can hear pieces of what other people were doing. Like, I can hear connections.
Yeah.
And it also stands by itself. There's not...
Yeah,
there's no one else quite in this lane.
Yeah, and that was not necessarily what I was going for, but I knew that I couldn't do what they were doing,
Yeah.
Like, it was just like, I'm not that kind of rapper, but how about I try and get as close to that as possible? And this was my first attempt at it, so that's why, like, it was 8 years before my second attempt at it, so...
And this just occurred to me, and you sound quite different, but you know who else kind of has the same vibe? It's actually Royce's music of this era. And in a way, he had some similar goals.
I
don't know.
That, yeah.
Nate, what do you think of that?
I think Nate may have had to step away for a second.
No, I didn't. I was just trying to figure out these chord changes, but the sample's just slightly out of tune, so it was. But I dig it. You're asking about the Roy, like the comparison to Royce?
But just in terms of when I think of Kansas City hip hop, I mean, Royce was kind of in his own lane. He's kind of trying to hit the radio a little bit, and had some of those goals.
No, I mean, now that you bring it up, you're right. It does seem like there were, kind of all of these sort of, everybody came from, I guess, this, a similar, just kind of the sound that was going on back then. But
and there's
all
a
these
thing
little
of
offshoots and branches, just due to the different personalities, like Ebbs and then Royce's, and of course, Approach and all those guys did stuff that was dope, but just slightly different.
Rhyme scheme, best to have one you down with my team. This is my life and your dream, which makes me hot like a 3-alarm. You bet the farm and losing some folks who do you harm. May I present the way I spit is so hot wired, never in the doldrums.
We are back.
All right. So, listeners, you've just heard My 1. We've worked through some technical difficulties. We're going to continue on. The show must go on. You're going to hear Propane featuring Ironic, and then Higher. And we're just going to keep talking. And then we'll break until next week when we'll hear side 2. So, Ebony, what do you remember about Propane and the Ironic feature?
Well, first off, Ironic is the younger brother of IJ. And I am the kind of person that is not afraid to be outshined on a song by somebody who's a better rapper. And that's basically this song. It was just like, I want to get the best rapper that I can get on this song. And it just happened to be my producer's little brother. And I don't think he raps anymore. I'm not really sure. Like, I lost contact with a lot of people. So if he doesn't rap anymore, he definitely left the mark, because he's also the author of one of my favorite solo albums. So I had to get him on the record.
Did you know Ironic like independently, or did IJ introduce you?
IJ introduced me because it was his little brother. So like,
sure.
He was fresh out of high school, and maybe still in high school when I met him. So,
oh wow.
Yeah, I was a couple of years older than everybody that I was doing music with. So, like, I think IJ was 19 when I met him, and I was 23. And I think Ironic is 2 or 3 years younger than he is. So at the making of this record, he was right around 21 in 2008.
Yeah, and so do you remember how the feature, like, did IJ maybe suggested it?
No,
I didn't know.
I suggested it. Like, I had known him, and I heard his first album. And his first album was called Train of Thought, and I was like, man, this kid is dope. I want to do a record with him. And I started working with IJ more and found out that was his brother, and was like, yo, boom, let's make this happen. Like, he needs to be on this track specifically. And he was like, what do you want him to say? I was like, I want him to kill it. And I don't care if it's a better rap than mine. I don't. Like, I really don't. I legitimately don't care. If we're going to do music, I'm honored that you want to do music with me. So whether or not you're better than me, doesn't matter. You respect me enough to want to do it? Cool, let's go. So
you did know Ironic musically, like you'd heard the music, but you didn't know about the personal connection with IJ.
I knew a little bit of both at the same time. I just didn't realize that, like, he was... I didn't think that, like, he wasn't going to be good. I was like, this kid's going to be super dope, and I want to work with him. Because I figured the way that things were going, there could have been a nice chance that we actually kind of did something, whether it was, minor, mid, major, didn't matter. Like, the people I was working with were a good group of people that made music.
and he just happened to be the producer behind all of it. Like everybody's album was produced by him, by IJ. So it was a great idea, and it was a good thing that actually worked. And you know, it ran its course with myself, and I ended up leaving in like 2010, 2009, 2010. So I'm glad he's still doing stuff. He actually produced my second album too in its entirety. So 8 years later. But this is me, him, and his little brother. IJ made the beat. Ironic does the last verse, and I do the first two.
Yeah.
So
I'm shifting gears entirely here, but you know, while we're talking about first things and origins, and I mean, LeftE Grove, how did you choose?
Well, nerd answer and music answer are both kind of the same, and a nickname never really stuck with me unless I gave it to myself. And for the most part, in college, I was a history major, and I specifically chose baseball as the basis and like the Industrial Revolution to, at the time, 1996, because I'm old, and I'm 206.
You're barely older than me. I mean, let's be very clear about this. We're peers at this point, age-wise.
I just like making that joke.
208.
Yeah, I don't feel a day over 56 today. My back kind of hurt, but that's another story. But the name comes from me being left-handed, and then my name being Ebony, and then Grove being where the street that I went to middle school and high school on. They were just right up the road from each other. So LeftE Grove. But also in terms of like the Murderers Row picture for the Yankees too. So I took it from that and then went from there and just made it my own because I didn't really want to get sued by his family or anything, just in case I got famous. So I just made it a different name, and that's how LeftE Grove came about.
I like it, man. It's definitely a memorable name. And so, like, you know, if you saw you, if you saw, you know, you were out back then and saw you and the name, you came away like remembering that's who that is.
Yeah.
'Cause I wanna take you higher.
Hey everybody, we did not record a transition, we just went straight through. But that's it for this week. You can check out Left Grizzle in HD by LeftE Grove on leftegrove2.bandcamp.com, link in the description, or all your big streaming platforms. And we will be back next week with side 2 of the album. Until then, it's been the Long Play Listening Party. Thanks for listening.